Making decisions is a critical part of both professional and personal life. Everybody wants to make good decisions. But unless you're plain lucky, the chances of making a good decision every time are very slim. But if you follow 5 principles, the chances of making a good decision are vastly improved. The first one being, make sure you gather the information about the decision you're making. This could come from professional sources. It could be something technical, it could be something legal. You might just need to go to the library and look at some sort of legislation. Or it could be that you need to just surf the web. But as long as you're armed up, you can make a decent decision and you know what you're talking about. The next point being, evaluate the alternatives. Sometimes we leap into a decision and we think there needs to be a proactive change. Sometimes a decision could be to maintain the status quo and not make any changes whatsoever. Or there could be 5 or 6 alternatives that have different merits. It's worth noting these down against each other and comparing them, so ultimately you can make the best decision, or the decision you think will be the best. The next step is to consider the long-term implications. Often we make decisions on the short term. Now this could be going to the pub and we end up being drunk, and then the next day we've got a hangover. The long-term implications aren't too bad apart from the next day. But it could be something more significant, like deciding to cross the road when the red man's on. If you get hit by a van, it's not going to be good. So think it through before you make a bad decision. The next step is to think about our intuition or gut feeling. Often we feel some sort of negative vibe inside when we're making a decision. And often that comes from a place where we've had experience of something in the past which is similar to the decision we're making now and it didn't turn out particularly well. If that's the case, it's worth investigating why that feeling occurs, and then ultimately you can make a decision on whether to make a decision. But often it comes from somewhere and it doesn't happen for no reason at all. The final step is to think about past mistakes. So if you've made a mistake in the past on a decision, often we forget about it. We want to put it out of our minds, but it's worth thinking back to when you've been put in a position where you needed to think about something and it didn't turn out particularly well. If that decision wasn't good, it's worth noting it and why it didn't work, and then you can take an alternative measure. The other thing to think about is not backing yourself into a corner. So if you do make a decision, you don't want to be stuck with it forever. So it could be a case, if you bought 50,000 fidget spinners, you don't want to be lumbered with 49,000 fidget spinners in a warehouse that nobody wants. So let's go over those actions again. Gather the information, evaluate the alternatives, consider the long-term implications, trust your gut or intuition, and learn from your mistakes and don't repeat them. And with that information, you should make some good decisions.